Ladies and gentlemen, here's an intro to your motivational speech in Jessica's bold, empowering, and emotionally charged style. Confident, direct, and engaging. Let me ask you something real quick. When did we start believing that love has to be a one-sided chase? That you always have to be the one proving, pursuing, convincing? Listen, I'm here to break that mindset. This isn't about playing games. This is about stepping into your power. It's about understanding what makes her want to come back to you, not out of guilt, not out of pressure, but because she feels something real and irresistible pulling her back. See, 90% of the time, she's not coming back because you're too available, too eager, too reactive. You gave her the upper hand, and now you're out here wondering why you're stuck in the friend zone, the ghost zone, the maybe later zone. But let me tell you the truth. When you shift your energy, when you raise your value, when you start showing her the man she underestimated, she will feel it, she will notice, and she will chase you back. So today, I'm not here to teach you tricks. I'm here to flip the script. We're going deep into the mindset, the energy, the strategy. If you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, stay with me. Because this is how the game changes. When you constantly give someone your attention, time, and energy, they begin to subconsciously devalue it. It's human nature. What is always available is rarely cherished. That's why withdrawing your attention is not about playing mind games. It's about restoring balance and reestablishing your worth in someone's eyes. When a woman knows you'll always text back immediately, always say yes to every plan, always check in, she stops feeling that spark, that edge, that curiosity that initially pulled her in. You become predictable, and predictability kills mystery. Mystery is essential when it comes to desire, especially in attraction dynamics. In the beginning, your attention may have been a reward. It felt good to her because it was new, intentional, and had meaning. But over time, if you started overgiving, over-explaining, over-pursuing, then that attention slowly shifted from being a gift to becoming an expectation. That shift is dangerous because now she sees you as someone who needs her validation, someone who chases approval rather than commands respect. And the more you give without receiving the same energy back, the more the scale tips in her favor, and the more your value declines in her eyes. When you pull back, when you stop showing up in the ways she took for granted, she starts to notice. She feels the absence. She begins to ask silent questions in her mind. Why hasn't he called? What is he doing? Is he losing interest? That questioning creates space for desire. It puts you back in the position of choice, of power. But here's the thing, pulling back your attention doesn't mean you ignore her to get a reaction. It means you redirect that attention to yourself, your purpose, your goals, your self-worth, because the energy of withdrawal is only powerful if it's real. If she can sense you're just faking disinterest to make her chase, it won't work. Women are intuitive. She needs to feel that your life is fulfilling enough without her, that you are centered, that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. When you start focusing more on yourself, on becoming better, sharper, more grounded, your energy shifts. You become magnetic. You stop seeking and start attracting. Pulling your attention back forces her to reflect. It makes her reconsider what she lost. It highlights your value not because you shouted it, but because your absence speaks louder than your words ever could. And this doesn't happen overnight. You don't pull away today and expect her to call tomorrow. It's a process. It's about becoming scarce, not silent. It's about having boundaries, not bitterness. You don't ghost her. You simply stop overgiving. You don't beg for a seat in her life. You rebuild your own table and let her notice the empty seat. This shift has a psychological impact. People always want what feels exclusive. The more you demonstrate that your time, energy, and attention are limited and reserved for those who truly value them, the more she'll begin to feel the pull. She'll compare you to the version of you that was always available and realize that something's changed. She'll feel the shift and it will challenge her. It will make her wonder if she still has the same hold on you. And that curiosity is powerful. It reawakens her interest and reignites the connection in her own mind. You're not doing this to punish her. You're doing it to reset the emotional equilibrium. When your attention stops being a constant and starts becoming a reward again, her behavior shifts. She's reminded of your worth. She sees what she overlooked. And slowly, the dynamic flips. Now she's thinking about you more. Now she's checking your social media. Now she's wondering who else might be getting the energy she used to have access to so easily. Confidence isn't about walking into a room and demanding attention. It's about walking into a room and not needing it. The kind of confidence that gets her to chase you isn't surface-level arrogance or fake bravado. It's the quiet strength that comes from living a life with direction, purpose, and passion. When you stop making her your mission and instead start building your mission, something shifts. She sees it, she feels it, because there's nothing more attractive than a man who's deeply rooted in who he is and where he's going. When you're chasing someone, you're sending a message that they have something you don't. You're putting them on a pedestal, whether you mean to or not. But when you live with purpose, you stop trying to prove your value and start living in it. Your time becomes more valuable, your energy becomes more guarded, and your presence becomes more magnetic. You're no longer reacting to her, you're creating your own momentum. That shift is what pulls her in. Women are naturally drawn to a man who's focused, who's building something, who wakes up every day with goals bigger than just getting a reply to a text. When you operate like that, it creates a different kind of energy around you, an energy that says, I know who I am, and I'm not chasing validation. And that energy becomes impossible to ignore. She starts to feel your absence in a different way, not because you're missing, but because your presence is now wrapped in purpose. It's easy to think that being confident means saying the right words or dressing the right way. But the truth is, real confidence isn't loud, it's calm. It's the way you carry yourself when things don't go your way. It's the way you stay grounded even when she pulls away. It's the ability to let go instead of clinging tighter. Because a man with purpose doesn't panic when things shift. He adjusts, he refocuses, he keeps moving forward. And that forward motion is what makes her stop and look back when she sees you showing up in the world differently, more disciplined, more selective, more focused. She begins to feel the change. You're no longer orbiting her world. You've created your own, and people always chase what they feel is slipping away, especially when that something used to orbit around them. The moment you stop making her the goal and start making yourself the priority, the dynamic flips. You're no longer seeking, you're becoming, and that becomes the most attractive thing about your purpose. Doesn't mean you need to have everything figured out. It just means you're building, growing, and moving with intention. It means you have a vision that goes beyond her. That vision gives your life structure. It gives you resilience, and that resilience is what makes her see you as more than just another guy. You're no longer easy to access. You're no longer predictable, you've elevated, and now she has to wonder where she fits into your world instead of the other way around. Confidence rooted in purpose also changes the way you communicate. You stop over-explaining, you stop over-texting, you stop over-analyzing every little thing. You say what you mean, you move with clarity, and you let your silence do the talking when it needs to. That creates space. That space creates desire, and that desire brings her closer. Because now, chasing you feels like a challenge again. Not because you're trying to make her work, but because you've stopped giving away energy to someone who hasn't earned it. The more you invest in your mission, the less you need to be validated by her attention. That's when she starts seeking yours again. Because confidence isn't about needing her, it's about becoming the kind of man she doesn't want to lose. When you live like that, when you operate like that, the chase isn't something you have to initiate. It becomes something she does naturally because she recognizes that your attention isn't freely given. It's earned through respect, consistency, and mutual effort. One of the most overlooked dynamics in attraction is the power of unpredictability. When you're always available, always saying yes, always reacting the same way, you become emotionally flat in her mind. There's no tension, no curiosity, no what's going to happen next. And when predictability takes over, so does boredom. That's why being unpredictably scarce is one of the most powerful ways to re-engage her emotions. It's not about disappearing just to create anxiety, it's about creating space for emotional memory to surface. She needs time to miss you, to wonder about you, To compare the silence now to the attention you used to give her, emotional memory is triggered in quiet moments. It's when she's not hearing from you that her mind starts to revisit the times you made her laugh, the times you were there for her, the little things you said that stuck with her, but that only happens if she feels your absence. If you keep showing up every day, texting good morning, liking every post, replying instantly, she never has to sit with the void. She never has to question what life is like without your energy in it. But when you're not so easy to reach, when your presence isn't predictable, that absence starts to work in your favor. Being scarce doesn't mean being cold. It means being intentional. It means not being glued to your phone, not overinvesting in a connection that's become one-sided, not being the first one to initiate every interaction. It means letting her wonder why you didn't reply yet, letting her think about where you've gone, letting her curiosity build naturally. That tension creates a spark, and women are wired to chase what they feel might slip away. The key is in how you make yourself less predictable without being emotionally detached. You might normally send a message every night. Stop doing that. You might usually watch all her stories. Stop engaging with everything. You might always be the first to initiate conversation. Let her reach out. That sudden shift will not go unnoticed. It will trigger a sense of emotional imbalance. And in that imbalance, she will start to search for that feeling of familiarity again. That's when her mind starts associating missing you with valuing you. And value is everything when it comes to attraction. It's important to understand that unpredictability must be blended with authenticity. If you ghost her for a week and then come back just to get attention, it feels manipulative. But if you've genuinely started focusing on your goals, your hobbies, your self-development, and your time becomes more protected, then your scarcity feels real. And that's when she starts noticing. She notices that your energy is no longer orbiting her. She notices that you're not waiting around. She begins to think about whether she misjudged your value, and that thinking creates emotional momentum in your direction. The moments where she expects you to show up, and you don't, are the moments where attraction starts to rebuild. It's when she starts asking herself why you pulled away, what you're doing, and whether she still has a place in your life. This opens the door to emotional memory, the part of her that starts reliving the best moments with you and replaying them in her mind. This kind of memory isn't triggered by presence, it's triggered by absence, and it thrives in unpredictability. The more she can't quite read you, the more invested she becomes in figuring you out again. The less she knows about what you're feeling or thinking, the more her mind works overtime to fill in the blanks. That's when she starts watching your stories more closely, reacting to your posts, sending those just checking in texts. She's looking for clues because something about your energy shifted. You're no longer predictable, and unpredictability brings the excitement back into a dynamic that may have gone stale or one-sided. When a woman feels that something might be slipping away, she chases not just to bring it back, but to feel that connection again on her terms. When words stop working, actions take the lead. If you truly want her to chase you back, you have to stop talking about your worth and start showing it through your lifestyle. An upgraded lifestyle is louder than any message you could send her. When she sees you living differently, moving with more confidence, investing in your growth, evolving mentally, physically, emotionally, she begins to see the man she once knew in a completely new light. That contrast is what draws her back in, not what you say, but what you've become. You don't have to announce the changes. You don't have to post every workout, every new win, every night out. But when your vibe changes, when your energy gets sharper, when you're visibly leveling up, she will feel it even before she sees it. There's a difference between someone who's pretending to glow up just to get attention and someone who's genuinely upgrading his life because he knows his value. The latter doesn't chase, he attracts, and women are drawn to growth. They are drawn to motion, to evolution, to a man who's clearly on a path upward without needing anyone's permission. Maybe before, she saw you as stuck. Maybe you were too available, too focused on her, too distracted from your own mission. But when that shifts, when you're waking up earlier, hitting the gym, dressing better, moving with intention, surrounding yourself with better energy, she will notice. You don't need to explain that you're better now. Your life becomes the proof. Your discipline becomes the magnet, and she starts wondering if she misjudged you, underestimated you, or maybe even let go of something she didn't fully understand. People chase what feels rare and valuable. They are drawn to transformation, not stagnation. If she sees that you're evolving without her, that you're not stuck in pain or bitterness, that you're not waiting around hoping she'll text back, it creates curiosity. That curiosity becomes interest. That interest becomes desire, especially when she realizes you're not changing for her, but because you've finally remembered who you are and what you're capable of. That's when the attraction shifts from obligation to inspiration. She starts to admire you again, not for chasing her, but for rising on your own terms. Every upgrade you make becomes a message. When you start treating your time like it matters, she notices. When you stop entertaining drama, she notices. When your circle tightens and your standards rise, she notices. When your posture improves, when your confidence sharpens, when your silence starts speaking volumes, she feels it. You're not the same person who used to chase. You're now the man she has to reevaluate, and that reevaluation creates pursuit, because people naturally want access to what seems elevated, exclusive, and in demand. You don't need to flex. You don't need to post every highlight just to get her attention. In fact, the less you try to show her directly, the more powerful it becomes. Let her hear about your progress from others. Let her stumble upon your growth without you forcing it. Let her see that you're happy, fulfilled, and focused. That passive exposure hits harder than any caption you could write. And when she sees you doing better, not in a petty way but in a powerful way, her perspective shifts. Now you're not just the guy she used to talk to. You're the man who evolved past the version of you that needed her validation. A better lifestyle doesn't just change how she sees you, it changes how you see yourself. And that shift in self-perception makes your energy unignorable. You stop chasing because you no longer feel a void that needs to be filled by her attention. You've filled it with progress, purpose, and self-respect, and that energy cannot be faked. It's the kind of energy that draws people in, not because you need them, but because they want to be part of what you're becoming. She won't just see your growth, she'll feel the gap between the old you and the new you, and that gap is what makes her chase you back without you lifting a finger. Availability is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in attraction. Most people assume that being available means being kind, caring, and consistent, but there's a sharp line between being emotionally present and being overly accessible. When someone knows that no matter what they do, no matter how they behave, they'll always have access to you, they stop valuing that access. It becomes something expected, not earned. When you're always there, always replying, always reaching out, you teach her that your attention is guaranteed. And anything that feels guaranteed loses its value over time. Creating the fear of loss doesn't mean using manipulation or threats. It means showing through your actions, your energy, your presence that you are not someone who will wait around forever. That you are not emotionally dependent, that you have standards, self-respect, and a life that moves forward with or without her. When she begins to feel that you are no longer easily available, it creates a subtle but powerful tension. She begins to ask questions she didn't ask before. Is he losing interest? Is he talking to someone else? Did he outgrow me? These thoughts don't surface when you're always chasing. They arise when you become a man with boundaries. Fear of loss is one of the strongest motivators in human behavior. People often don't appreciate what they have until they sense they might lose it. And the truth is, if she believes she can always come back whenever she wants, she won't feel urgency. She won't feel the need to change her behavior. But the moment she senses that you're slipping away, not because you're angry, but because your life is evolving, her mindset begins to shift. That fear isn't about panic, it's about realization. It makes her reflect on what she had and what she might be letting go of. You have to understand that your availability is a form of currency. When you give it away freely, it loses its power. But when you become more intentional, when you're no longer the first to reach out, when you stop responding instantly, When you start living without waiting for her validation, that's when your presence starts to matter again. She starts comparing how much energy you used to give her versus how much you give now, and that comparison creates desire. She remembers what it felt like to have your attention and starts to miss it. This only works when the shift is real. If you're pretending to be busy or trying to act cold just to get her attention, it won't land. She has to feel that your energy has truly changed, that you're prioritizing yourself, your goals, your peace. That she no longer has the same influence over your emotions. That's what creates the emotional shift in her mind. She no longer feels the same control. She no longer assumes you'll be there regardless of how she treats you. That loss of certainty becomes the spark that reignites her interest. Reducing your availability doesn't mean cutting her off or being rude. It means you're no longer placing her at the center of your attention. It means you're not responding to breadcrumbs, you're not waiting by the phone, you're not rearranging your life for someone who hasn't done the same for you. That distance creates curiosity, that curiosity grows into reflection. And that reflection often leads to her making the first move. The key is to be emotionally grounded, to stay calm when she pulls away, to not react out of fear, to not chase out of anxiety, to trust that your value speaks louder in your absence than your words ever could in your presence. When you become someone who isn't afraid to walk away, who isn't addicted to validation, who doesn't need constant attention to feel worthy, you instantly become more attractive. Because now she's not dealing with someone who needs her. She's dealing with someone she needs to earn back. When she senses that the version of you who was always available is gone, it hits differently. It makes her realize the effort you once gave and the silence you now maintain. It makes her question her role in your life and forces her to make a choice. Either level up to match your new energy or risk losing access to it completely.